Representative Cassidy, for what reason do you seek recognition?
Point of personal privilege.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For months, we have listened as a small fraction of our body has spent an enormous amount of time on an issue that clearly is top of mind to them. Rather than focusing time, energy, and attention on ensuring that we can still provide care for constituents losing access to services because Elon Musk and his crew of unelected tech bros lacking security clearances are decimating services, or helping farmers find a way to keep their farms while their fearless leader engages in a trade war that will destroy our agriculture sector. Some of our colleagues have chosen to spend our time spewing false information about trans youth. Truth isn't even their goal. The examples they used just last week have been thoroughly debunked. The so-called career-ending injury that one of our colleagues referenced didn't stop that athlete from competing in the state championship, and the athlete that she collided with was not trans. Similarly, the family cited in the speech in DC last week, who now claim their daughter's school allowed her to transition against their will, left an extensive email trail encouraging the school to allow their daughter to use her chosen name. I spent a fair bit of time this weekend thinking about all of this, including my reactions to their harmful diatribes. When this all first started, I was proud of how our entire chamber just seemed to tune out the sideshow, up to and including making goofy faces on camera behind each other. But then I started hearing from people who heard the hate being live streamed from our chamber and realized that our constituents need to know that someone has their back. I got pretty passionate last week, I'll admit. And quite frankly, I am always going to put myself between a bully and a kid. I'm just hardwired to be a mama bear. But then, I watched a debate on the floor of the Montana House, Montana people, that happened at right about the same time as our exchange. Representative Zoe Zephyr, the only openly trans member of that body, stood and calmly shared her opposition to a bill that would ban drag performances in Montana. She talked about having to explain the things people say on their floor to her young son. To my utter delight, her Republican colleague, Sherry Essman, got up to talk about how much time had already been wasted on these issues. That as a Republican, I hope y'all are listening over there, because as a Republican, she believed in staying out of people's personal lives and decisions and implored her colleagues to join her in voting down the bill and moving on to the issues that they really need to tackle. 10 Republicans joined Representative Zephyr in rejecting the politics of hate and hyperbole. Nationally, 733 anti-trans bills have been introduced across the country, including 20 here in Illinois. To the folks at home who see those bills introduced and worry what that means, that we're heading down a bad road, know that those bills will never become law in Illinois as long as I have breath in my body. But the very introduction of the bills and the streaming of lies and attacks on a community's very existence does real and measurable harm. I shared the statistics about the mental health impacts of transphobic laws and rhetoric last week, so I'm not going to bore you with those again. As I spent time this weekend thinking about the situation we found ourselves in, I'm not enjoying the ping pong match either. I just kept coming back to being puzzled by why this handful of colleagues can't stop thinking about trans kids. And frankly, all I can come up with is that they have a creepy obsession with children's genitals. It's just plain creepy. Y'all need to get a better hobby. I invite my colleagues who think we've got better things to do, and I invite my colleagues on both sides of the aisle who think we've got better things to do, to join me in asking our colleagues to get serious about the work ahead of us. Stand now and join me in asking to focus on the needs of our actual communities and our actual constituents, rather than continuing to demonize children who represent a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the population. According to the Illinois High School Sports Association, the 3 trans students who competed last year represent, work with me here, 0.000009375% of the athletes competing in our state. There may be fewer than a handful of trans kids playing sports in our state, but stand with me and demand that we work on behalf of the 3.9 million people on Medicaid wondering how they're going to live through this. Stand with me and demand that we focus on the 600,000 people who depend on the now gutted Veterans Administration for their care, and wonder what we are going to do to ensure that we keep our promise to our veterans. Stand with me to talk to the small businesses looking to us to help them navigate and survive the uncertainty ahead. Please, all of you, let's get to the work our constituents sent us here to do and leave the kids alone once and for all.